Hey, good morning, all. Okay, we'll continue our book reading this morning, The Way to Service Excellence by Jeffrey K. Leica and Karen Ross. The Toyota Way to Service Excellence. Yesterday, we looked at and compared the two cases of the customers who went to get something at a particular store or supermarket. One who went to get a gas top, and the other one who wanted to have his Volvo car serviced. And throughout, he was telling us their ups and downs and how their experiences went, how uncomfortable it was, and how we could apply lean principle to these two scenarios and two cases where the onboarding process has to be less stressful and everything has to be, has to happen with less time and everything for the customer to have a good experience. Like he told us in our previous pages, experience is what makes the customer return to buy again, to purchase from you, or let's just say return a purchase, or visit you again to want to patronize you because of the kind of experience that customer had with you. So it's important to create an excellent service or an excellent experience with this customer, so you tend to keep them and create long-term relationships with them. Today on page 14, we'll be looking at what is service organization and how do we define excellence. So what do we mean by service organization? Let's first consider what we mean by a service as defined by businessdictionary.com. A service is a valuable action, deed, or effort performed to satisfy a need or to fulfill a demand. This seems straightforward enough and points out that it is only a service if it fulfills a customer's needs. An economic perspective on service provided by investorworld.com adds further definition. A type of economic activity that is intangible, is not stored, and does not result in ownership. A service is consumed at the point of sale. Now we have the notion of service as intangible. Moreover, we consume it at the point of sale. So customers themselves are a point of the transformation process. If you can touch and feel it and store it for later use, it is not a service, but rather a tangible good. If it is a process that directly changes us as customers in some way, it is intangible and a service. Services like hairstyling, surgery, psychological counseling, and personal training clearly fit the definition of something intangible consumed at the point of sale. None of these services can happen if the customer is not present when it is happening. Google's dictionary adds even more complexity to our definition of service. 1. The action of helping or doing work for someone. 2. A system supplying a public need such as transport, communication, or utility such as electricity and water. The first definition is similar to the two we have discussed, but the second adds the notion of a system that moves or transfers something that is at least somewhat tangible and storable. Electricity can be stored, and even though you do not want to hold it in your hand, it is a measurable physical entity. Bottled water is a physical product from a manufacturing plant, but a service provider transports it to a store that is a service provider. When we turn on these spigots in our home in many locations, we are getting a service provider by the water company that is pumping and treating water from a reservoir. Where does manufacturing end and service begin? The world became more complicated with the advent of computer technology and especially with the internet. When I'm using Amazon.com, I'm using a service or a tangible product technology. Amazon itself is a system of people and technology that is supplying something tangible. Software producing software producing a user interface on our computer stored for use as we desire. We interact with the computer. Amazon data is stored in a complex infrastructure of over 1 million physical servers throughout the world. If we are to write our order on paper, we might say that the paper is a tangible good produced in a factory. But when we type our order into a computer interface, it is a service because it is virtual paper that was created in a software factory. This is getting more and more confusing. To further complicate matters, the services are measured by government. The services are measured by government is as the complement of manufacturing. Services are everything that is not production of tangible goods as classified by national measurement system. Encyclopedia Britannica online describes it as this way: service industry, an industry in that part of the economy that creates service rather than tangible object. Economics divide all economic activity into two broad categories: goods and services. Goods producing industries are agriculture, mining, manufacturing, and construction. Each of them creates some kind of tangible object. Service industries include everything else: banking, communication, wholesale and retail trades, all professional services such as engineering, computer software development, and medicine. Non-profit economic activity all consume service, and all government services including defense and administration of justice. This seems both sloppy and odd. A sloppy way to define something is as everything left over except something you define. Service is everything that is not manufacturing. If we each layers and layers of bits and bytes onto a circuit board at Intel, it is manufacturing. But a cable company that transforms bits and bytes into a movie we can consume on a computer is service. These two cases seem to have similarities than differences. If an engineer at Intel is designing the next new computer chip that will be smaller and faster, is she a manufacturer because Intel is a manufacturing company, or in a service organization because she is doing knowledgeable work? If she does the same work in an engineering firm subcontracted by Intel, is she now performing a service? So we'll stop here for our reading this morning. So what is service organization and how do we define excellence? So under this, first of all, it is telling us what it means by service organization. So what do we mean by a service organization? First of all, it is giving us a definition of what service is. Service is actually a valuable action, a deed, or an effort performed to satisfy a need and to fulfill a demand. It also gives us other perspective in which you could define service as. So from an economic perspective, service is providing an activity that is intangible, something that is not stored And also, service is something that is experienced or something that is given to a customer at the point of sales. So that's why it is important when trying to communicate with customer or at the buying point when they are making a buying decision. It is important to make sure that that customer has a good experience. Make sure you present an excellent customer service. Make sure that you're helping them, you're giving them something that will solve their problems or give them a solution. So give other definition of examples of services like hairstyling, surgery, psychological counseling, personal training, and the rest of it. So all these are examples of what service is, which is what it has taught us today. Before we actually go into the main topic, which is said here, what do you mean by service organization? So it has first of all defined what service is, so we have a clear understanding of what it means to provide service to a customer, to a client, or to someone you meet out there. So this is where we'll stop for our reading this morning. Thank you.